Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's video, we will learn how to align flex items. Flex provides us with two properties for this purpose: align items and align content. Let's talk about the first property, align items. This property is used to align items along the cross axis. So if you have a flex with direction row, so this will align items vertically. Or if you have a flex with direction column, it would align items horizontally. Let's give this a try. So let's bring up our code editor. Let's bring it up here. So let's give display flex to our container. So display flex, let's save it. And by default, it is in direction row. Let's try giving it this property. So align items and let's say stretch. Let's save it. So stretch is the default value. So by default, it stretches the content vertically. So if we increase the height of our div, it should increase the height of our items as well. So let's say height 400 pixels, let's save it. And as you can see, the height of our items also increased. It accepts some more values, so let's give them a try. So it accepts this value flex start. So it aligns all the items at the start. Similarly, it accepts another value, flex end. So it aligns everything at the end. It accepts another value called center. It moves everything to the center vertically. Similarly, let's try it for direction column. So let's give it a direction here. Flex direction, let's say column, let's save it. Let's increase the height a bit, say 700 pixels. And as you can see, it is aligned in the center horizontally. And why is that? Because our flex is in the direction column. So the cross axis is horizontal. Similarly, let's try moving it to the start. So flex start, let's save it. And as you can see, it moved to the start of our cross axis. Similarly, let's try flex end. And as you can see, it moved to the end of our cross axis. Similarly, let's try stretch. Let's save it. And as you can see, it's stretching all the elements across the cross axis. That's all for align items property. So moving on to the next one, which is align content. This property is also used to align items along the cross axis. Think of this as justify content for cross axis. So if you remember, we would when we use justify content, it would move the content or items around the main axis. But here with align content, it moves the elements across the cross axis. This property works only when there are more than one line of items. So first let's bring it back to normal. So let's change it to row. Let's remove this align items property. Let's remove the height. Let's save it. So let's try this align content. So if I say align content and I say center, nothing happens because it needs to have multiple rows. So let's do that. So coming here, let's copy it and paste it here once again. And as you can see, the content is overflowing, so we need to wrap it to bring it to next line. So coming here, so flex wrap, and let's go to value wrap. And now as you can see, we've got two rows here, but there isn't any extra space vertically. And because this is a row and we're talking about the cross axis, we need more space vertically. So let's do that. So let's just increase the height, say 700 pixels. Let's save it. And as you can see, the content is in the center of the screen vertically or across the cross axis. Similarly, let's try bringing it to the start. Let's save it. And now as you can see, it is at the start of cross axis. Similarly, we can bring it to the end. And now as you can see, it is at the end of the cross axis. So just like we had a space between and space around in justify content, we can have that here as well. Let's say space between, let's save it. And now as you can see, all the extra spaces between these two rows. Similarly, we can have space around, let's save it. And now as you can see, all the extra spaces divided around these rows. So some is on the top, some in between, and some at the bottom. Similarly, we can use the value stretch, let's save it. And now as you can see, both these rows can are stretching across as much as possible. Let's see how to align items in the center of the flex. So center vertically and center horizontally. Let's remove these extra divs. Let's save it. All right, so we just have 4. Let's say we want to bring it to the center. So first, it came to the center vertically. Now, to bring it center horizontally, we can use justify content. Again, center, let's save it. And as you can see, our content is in the center of the div. Similarly, let's try this property for direction column. So coming back here, let's change it to column, let's save it. And because we've aligned content stretch, and align content works with the cross axis, so all these columns are stretched equally across the cross axis. Similarly, let's try changing the values. Instead of stretch, let's say start, let's save it. So all the content is moved to the start of the cross axis. Similarly, let's say flex end. So all the content is at the end. Let's try space between. Let's save it. And as you can see, all the available space is between these columns. Similarly, let's try space around. And as you can see, all the spaces around these columns. Let's try center. And as you can see, all the items are now in the center horizontally. That's all for align content property. Now that we know how to align items, let's see how to bring them to the center of the flex. For this purpose, we can simply use align item center to bring them in the center along cross axis, and use justify content to bring them in center along main axis. So let's give it a try. Let's remove this, let's save it. First, let's reduce the number of items. So that will give us a bit of clarity. So let's remove this and this as well. So now we're just left with 4 items. So coming back here, let's give it align items to bring it center across the cross axis. So align item and center. And now as you can see, it is in the center horizontally. Now to bring it in the center vertically, we could simply use justify content. So justify content and center. Let's save it. And now as you can see, these 4 items are in the center of the div. That's all for today, guys. If there is something that you did not understand, feel free to drop a comment and we will discuss it. See you in the next video. Bye and take care.